So today, when I was envisioning this meeting, this gathering, a funny thought went through my head of how do, just kind of a humorous thing of how do I make the present moment more attractive? How can I say it one more time? The present moment now appearing as joy, peace, love. What more can you want? Um, I got a little bit of a kick out of it. Hmm. How do we get ourselves 2 feet planted right here, right now? I mean, this story we all have going on, and I mean all of us, of, you know, if we want more trauma, guilt, shame, all the rest, get a past. If we want more terror, fear, hell realms, get a future, you know? And it's not in denial. It's not. It's hard to language the sanity that exists beyond the belief, thinking, feeling, belief, thinking, feeling, belief, thinking, feeling process that we have termed ego. It's hard to language the sanity that's beyond that without sounding like you're in denial or somehow ignorant of occurrences that have caused real pain. There's occurrences that have caused real pain. But in this moment, sitting right here together with all this privilege, really, of not running from bombs and not, doing whatever, searching for water, and I don't know what else going on out there. We're still seduced and hooked by these continuous thought streams, belief streams, playing over and over and over and over. I'm not in denial. I am not in denial of horrors that have occurred. What I'm encouraging and inviting is a compassionate end to that. A compassionate end. A place in reality, a conscious place within infinite consciousness that is completely devoted to right here and right now, the immediacy of it, the imminent, immediate truth. As it shines as the inexpressible mystery at the heart of right here and right now, shines forth as peacefulness, as lovingness, as joyfulness, like water is wet, like the sun shines. It's not invented, it's recognized. It's recognized. it's so, you know, I always use the word interesting, and my family just thinks I'm kind of crazy. People give me some, uh, can I say that they give me shit about it? Um, when I use this word interesting, but it was interesting, the pandemic, during the pandemic, I thought, okay, maybe I'll include a few anecdotes. The pandemic was like, lots of, you know, groups right here saying this, that, and the other, and then a whole bunch of other people right here saying this, that, and the other. Um, the seduction of all the what coulds and what were actually the denials of actual. I mean, it was just, you all lived through it. You know what I'm talking about. The During that time in this personal life, um, people in this family unit, the full circle family unit, and within the Tyler, the Jennifer Tyler family unit, were like calling me up and saying, you're just too toxic. See you later. I mean, it was wild. It was wild, right? For everybody. And the seduction of storyifying that as a trauma, or any of it as a what if, or was incredible, wasn't it? Isn't it? The belief spin layered on top of actuality is where all of the struggle and suffering occurs. I heard something just recently. I can't remember where it came in from, and I guess there's a book. I want to get this book, but somebody who was just at the bottom of their bottom, what do they call that? Rock bottom. With, I don't know, their body was manifesting going blind. They were being beaten by their husband. Their kids were getting taken away. I mean, I don't know. It went on and on and on and on and on and on. Very real. Uh, Horrific, really, circumstances in this life. And she woke up right in the middle of it. And she went on to write this book that I haven't read, but I love the title. She broke down the word fear into just a minute, it'll come. False evidence appearing real. False evidence appearing real. And she realized, in a direct way, not a philosophical one, that the compassionate end to all of this continuation of division and separation and unworthiness and shame, guilt, trauma, we name it, was only ever possible right here. Right here. She didn't read it in a book. She wasn't particularly spiritual. And her whole life, as she described it, just in the synopsis that somebody sent me, turned into what she termed God's miracle. Beauty. Walk in beauty. Beauty before me. Beauty behind me. Beauty above me. Beauty below me. The old Native American prayer. I think it's Apache or something. Walk in beauty. Beauty before me. Beauty behind me. Beauty around me. The devotion to something other than the end of suffering is amazing. I find it amazing here. We can be walking around even with an empty center, no self-referencing. And there's a hook, right? And the mind will start playing a scene and a reality of false evidence appearing real. I very much, how would you say it? You know how when you read a book and it's like the person who wrote the book is speaking your reality? You know, it's just like, wow, oh man, they come in at different times. Quite a few years ago, I have no idea where the book came from at this point. I don't know. There was a book called Thunder of Silence, Joel S. Goldsmith. And he was a spiritual healer in the 1940s. A Jewish man from New York. And his only method was to not have a single thought in his head. Not have a thought that his attention was adhered to. I mean, you know, I'm sure the radio station of thought was somewhere within consciousness, but not, he wasn't giving anything to it. So like the person would appear and say, you know, I'm an alcoholic, I broke my shoulder, da 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 da, you know, that I endured 10 years of abuse, blah da da blah da da blah da 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 da, and he would just sit there, completely 100% assured that as this woman who wrote the false evidence appearing as real book said, God's miracle was happening. There was no reason for it not to be happening other than an overlay of belief, and everyone got well. Because nothing was happening. So this is empty fullness. There are lots of different ways to talk about it from different traditions. Empty of identified consciousness. Emptied. I know this inspires something in us that gets like, oh, I'm close to home, I'm close to home, I'm close to home, but it also inspires something and it's like, hey, wait a minute, that's my story. You're trying to take my story. And I wanted to read something that Ram Dass wrote I have so many devices around me. I mean, if you knew, well, some of you do know me really well, you would, I mean, I got 2 iPhones, 2 iMacs, ready. Okay, Ram Dass. If you have spent your whole life becoming somebody and having something, having it, then with awakening, you turn around and you start the journey in the other direction of becoming nothing, becoming nobody, and having nothing. It would seem to make the whole first part of the life meaningless or some sort of error. But it's important to see that this sequence is a necessary sequence. That when one takes incarnation in an evolutionary moment, when one is going to awaken, you still have to become somebody and become grounded on earth before you can do the spiritual work. Part of the experience of living richly has been identification with the desires, emotions, beliefs, passions of life, hatreds, joys, drama, trauma. Each of us has an intense drama going on around ourselves. Will we? Won't we? Can we? Can't we? Should we? Shouldn't we? And with awakening, one begins to see the way one has been trapped in one storyline. But it doesn't mean the story ends. The Ram Dass story is alive and well. The only question is, who's living it? That says it. Identification. Identification. Me, mine, having, claiming, owning. For example, here, it's not a regular occurrence to have a sister call you and tell you she's disowning you and the family and, the whole thing. That's not, it wasn't regular in my life until it was. There was a real hook there as far as like, like the Don Miguel Ruiz. You can't personalize anything. You have to give that up. We have to give it up. We have to give it up. The present moment is entirely intimate. Is it not? Can we extract ourselves from it? It's entirely intimate and entirely impersonal. Not, as he says, the story doesn't end. Doesn't mean the story ends. The beautiful expression is a continuation. It's without beginning, without end. It's written into the moment in an archetypal blueprint, the Word of God way. Like the number 2, the archetype of the number 2, the archetype of Jennifer, the archetype of, whatever, whomever, whatever, the rose is a rose, will be a rose, always, already. You don't have to worry about the expression poofing into whatever, just a pile of mush without preference or passion or, it can feel like a bit of a flat line, giving up the past and future. and the will to change both of them, to bend them around our preferences, that absolutely can feel kind of like a and the function, the verb within consciousness, egoing, will really kick up on that one. I didn't sign up for this. You know, spirituality is supposed to be the bliss train and all of that. It begins and ends and is in every moment. There's this movement to, it's so quick, right? Dr. Hawkins used to say 1/10,000th of a second before that having, owning, grasping, struggling, suffering clicks in to the actuality. And you know, I mean, it's a big thing to say, and I get it. Because, you know, the whole like new age thing can start sounding like we're supposed to be somehow ashamed or guilty of creating our illnesses and creating the, you know, creating whatever it is, hardships. And it's not a matter of placing blame. It's a matter of waking up to the reality and getting both feet firmly in the reality that what we might call the belief in separateness, the divisive mind, is not essential or fundamental. It's secondary. It's secondary. It's not fundamental. It's not essential. It's not the inexpressible mystery at the heart of this moment. What is this? What am I? What is presence? Like he says in this quote, you know, you've been becoming somebody, and even our languaging, right? Like, remember in the days when they were telling us to own everything? You gotta own your shit. You gotta own your this. You gotta own your that. Oh boy, we get into some real funny stuff. Like that's going to. I'm not saying. I'm not speaking from the cycle of belief right now. There's a difference, right, between that, what I just said, this like that process within us that's always feeling kind of like, oh, I'm not good enough, not quite good enough, I gotta hold this all up. Oh, you know, it's me against the world, and oh, all this stuff, and I better own that, and I better own this, and you know, the me. doing all of that. There's a big difference between that and immediacy, response ability, total responsibility. No separation. As in, like Ho'oponopono, forgive me. I'm so sorry that I still am seeing reality this way and evidently need to. Forgive me. I'm sorry. Thank you. I love you. And this process, here's the other piece that I really wanted to bring forward, and I always do, but I wanted to reiterate it. It requires so much. I call it gentleness. Call it what you will. It's so precious and tender. It's so precious and tender and vulnerable to begin to surrender meanness. It feels like, well, it can feel like a lot of different things. Number one, sometimes it's like, oh, I'm just spiritually bypassing. What is this? What is this pointer? What is this instruction? This lady's crazy. Or it can feel like, if the loving presence begins to permeate that belief structure, that separate feeling, that self-referencing, it will pull out all the stops. Not out of some kind of evil motive, out of innocence. It's all innocent. We are in the business of putting the face of innocence back on reality. Are we not? It will pull out grief or some other big emotion, againstness, as it's being permeated. Doubt. All spiritual traditions talk about doubt. It's too good to be true. God's plan is too good to be true. So it's tender. It's so tender, especially for those of us who hasn't, really, who hasn't, in one way or another, experienced some kind of horror. We all just lived through, what, how many people exited the planet during the pandemic? Millions, right? So it's not hard to find something within our own experience that is attempting to be returned and let go, given away. But bringing those traumas, I use that word and I really don't want to. It's so much more timeless than that. Bringing those occurrences, those challenges and griefs and horrors, really, into present time and being willing to allow a peaceful end is pretty tough sometimes. I want to keep that story going. And then we're just writing the future. We're just writing the future. We're just assuming that the false evidence is what we're going to see because it's what we've seen. And it's evidently not what we're seeing right here, because here we are right here. Right here. Peace is where I am. Where I am. Peace is. Where I am. I mean that like all in capitals. Love is. I'm not talking about a me generating that. That's a noble effort, but it's so limited. It's a cross to bear. And it just can't be, it's a fight, a never ending fight between good and evil. Never ending. That story has no end without I am that I am. I am. Love is. Like Ellie Hellison, you know, walking through Auschwitz, and blue flowers were just blooming ahead of her in the yard as she awaited her horror that was all around her. She was writing in her journal, I just can't help it. I just can't help it. Life is so beautiful. No story of suffering. I mean, these are true. You know, within our own beings, we can that can inspire. You know, Eckhart Tolle, he calls it the pain body. And the peaceful return to original innocence is through presence, compassionate, loving awareness, compassionate, loving presence, uncreated, never far. We're not severed from our soul. We're not severed from God. We're not severed from peace that surpasses the good and evil thing. No, I am that I am. It's right here. I'm going to read one more thing and then we're going to take a break. What did I do? Oh, I know, I took a picture of it. Every time I get ready for a gathering, Thich Nhat Hanh just weaves in for the past year. So present, so available. I mean, for me at least, since his passing, or his continuation as he liked to call it, it's just the presence of his bodhisattva nature is so right here. It's just palpable. It's just coming in all the time. It goes like how Sharon always says, we walk on the backs of the great ones. When there is mist on the mountains, it is beautiful. And when there is no mist, it is also beautiful. All seasons are beautiful. You are beautiful, and your friends are beautiful. There is nothing to stop you from being in touch with life in the present moment. The question is, do you have eyes that can see the sunset, feet that can touch the earth? Do we have eyes that can see that heaven is spread upon the earth? For those who have eyes to see, getting ourselves right here, right now, getting the mind into the same place as the body. When this instrument that we call humanness, this instrument that we are, is emptied of, well, polishing the mirror, right? Emptied of the false evidence appearing real. What we call miracles are just sane reality. It's waking up to the world of love is. It sounds so, I don't know, when we're in actual pain. I'm not denying pain. I get it. Having, family members disown and divorce, and I just keep bringing that forward only because I just want to make it really apparent that we're all in this together. It's not like there's some sort of epitome of spiritual, I don't know what. I mean, like Trungpa always said, enlightenment is the ultimate disappointment for the ego. You mean I still have water to haul and wood to chop? Oh boy. The orientation is forever changed. The occupancy, you might say, of the moment is forever changed. But life is happening. So I'm not in denial or ignorant of the pain. I hope that somehow the words, we all can hear them and feel what they're pointing to. It's beyond. I love the word beyond. It's beyond, surpasses intellectual understanding. And it's only ever right here, right now. It's nowhere else. It is nowhere else. Love what is. That pointer, be as is. We could just as easily say love what is. Love is what is. Not personal love. And you might have a different word that resonates more easily for you because love is so loaded with Disney and all of that. Beauty. Life is beautiful. Okay, I had a few requests to take a little bit longer break between the talk and your addition to this conversation. So, how do we feel about 10 minutes? Is that long enough? Okay. So we'll come back at the top of the hour. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.